It feels like we're at that time of the year where the transfer window is almost closed and Sorare scouts and managers all over the world will be able to breathe a huge sigh of relief for their star players that haven't moved to a worse position. And some of those transfers, maybe they've bought a guy on some breaking news or a rumour or a hunch or whatever, their move happens and, you know, they reinforce your club, they reinforce the ranks going into the classic and then season competitions, whatever it might be. And, you know, here on the channel, I've been quite, quite strong in my opinion and, quite clear in how I've redirected my strategy for, the game week 1 for the volume 2 of Sorare from all the way back in like February, March, whenever they kind of announced these plans. We got that kind of handover period, whatever they were calling it at the time. And now we've had a few weeks where, we've got our teeth into it. We've seen the scores, we've seen how the divisions shake up. And yeah, some of those transfers have kind of wobbled around for me and against me. In the video today, we'll be having a little kind of recap, a little bit of a strategy pause for the cause. Have a look at, how are we shaping up? Is what we expected to happen showing itself to be the case? Or is there some other stuff that is a bit unforeseen that is now kind of front and centre and at our doorstep that we need to consider to be competitive and to get up into the leaderboards, to bag cash, get in season cards and, everything else that goes around it. At any point in the video today, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Not just Sorare content, but we're covering all the headline stuff from across European and world football, transfers in particular at the moment. But once the transfer window closes, we will be getting stuck into post-match, pre-match predictions, analysis, and all that good stuff. And thanks to all you guys, we recently hit 10,000 subscribers. You've got no idea how proud and how happy that makes me for the community we've got here on the channel. So thanks very much for all you guys, for all your support. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Now, in case you're kind of half new around here, what does he mean? He was quite clear in his strategy and quite strong in his stance and all the rest of it. But the classic competition, ever since it was announced and unveiled to us, just screamed bloodbath to me. That this was going to be a division that was going to be do or die for getting into the card positions, for fighting and clawing your way into the top divisions where the boxes would be the most attractive, would be the most appealing, and equally to get into the in-season stuff really quickly, it would be probably too rich for my blood and a little bit too expensive. So with that being the lay of the land, as we've seen it coming into game week 1, volume 2 of Sorare, I made sure that I was going around my club and enhancing the parts of it that I have a lot of fun with, that I'm really bought into, the players that I've got a good kind of rub of the green with, and just round out those collections, level up as many of them as I could, train them like a mofo all the way through the summer, so that in the classic competition, I could really action my rapid card acquisition strategy for the Contender region, where I could get in-season cards as quickly as possible, as cheaply as possible, to then go and compete on the leaderboards for money there. And hopefully with the champion Euro guys and super rare and rare, they can be competitive enough to win some high value rewards that, again, I can sell into the market. Maybe I bank some of that money. Maybe I use some of that money to get me going for in-season Contender. And then we've got the Challenger guys that are just really kind of, I wouldn't say dead to me, but they're kind of lost in the kind of grand scheme of things. I'll help me grab some essence. Maybe we give away some stuff that we win from that region once in a while. But already after us now, we're now finishing up game week 3. This all kind of started for me all the way back, but in game week 498. Now, volume 1 of Sorare went to game week 501. But this is when the SPFL came back. We had the first kind of Contender in-season cards, of course. And what we're going to have a quick track through now over the last few game weeks is how many cards, cash, boxes, all that kind of stuff we've picked up over the last couple of weeks. And what's great about doing this, and I already kind of know how some of this story kind of shakes out because they're my teams, I've kind of lived it. But we've not really had any huge success. We've had something that's kind of undone every game week in one way, shape or form. And for the very first FPFL special event, we had 2 of these. I went and got a Nicholas Kuhn, we got a Ross Laidlaw on the cheap, and we got a Dyson Maeda, and we thought, hey, we'll be able to cook, we should do pretty well. We did finish 34th, but a keen eye will see here that although we did pick up 50 quid and maybe a box as well, no box in this one, I don't think, Dyson Maeda DNP'd on us, so it was a huge performance from the goalkeeper, Captain O'Reilly, which is maybe a part of this video we'll come to in a moment. We only had one Contender team, which did get promoted, got us a wee box and a card as well, which is lovely, but this was still in the old format, and I didn't have that many actual Contender goalkeepers available, so a 4-man team went out there and got, or I say 4-man, Baraza did score some points, but we got a card out of All-Star, which is fun. We had some cat mode stuff go off that never really happened, and then a bunch of training lineups. A little tier 4 luckily there in the midweek. I've almost forgot about that. 4.99 Captain Hibbert on the Friday, of course. And for game week 500, we had the Jersey Specialist. Now, I remember picking this team quite far down in my priority list. We won a tier 3 rare from this. We had our second stab at the SPFL Special, and we won $40 from this. This is up to $90 in 2 in-season comps, which is lovely. Thanks to the Kuhn and the Lade lot especially. I remember getting the Forest in really cheap at last minute because we knew he was going to play after I think Dyson had a bit of a knock or whatever. And then this is the first game week where I've got 3 contender teams out. We've got 1 team in Division 1, 2 teams in Division 2. We got 1 box, no promotions, no relegations. And looking at the scores again, nobody overly turned up. Captain Teixeira was cool. We got 100 out of a Jetty and Scales, but again, the scores elsewhere, the goalkeepers were all kind of letdowns. And then we get to game week 1, which is the return of champion Europe, as we recognise it. Spain, the Premier League, and I think a bit of Serie A come back here in the very first game week of Volume 2 of Sorare. You know, the results were pretty good. It was great to see us getting promoted into Division 1 in Champion Classic. In the very first game week, we've won a card and a box there. That was absolutely phenomenal, and Kunku didn't even do that great for us. We got a super rare box as well from memory. And yeah, we got some essence and we got promoted out of Division 4 in Champion Classic thanks to these heroes and legends. But this was a Scottish Cup weekend and Celtic weren't in contender action. So we only had 1 contender team go out here. And, you know, it got us a box, which was lovely. No promotion, sadly, still remained in Division 2. And we got a wee under 23 box, which is lovely to see. And now we come out the back of game week 3. And again, the champion cards and the La Liga cards have done half okay, haven't they? But there's not been any amazing scores all the way throughout. In Bundesliga, you know, we've got a little, well, we didn't quite get promoted, but we've got a box coming from that, which is lovely. And the Champion Classic, where we're in D1, we didn't smash into the boxes, but we certainly didn't get relegated, which was cool to see. And we might just about hang on to a second super rare box of the season. So that'll be 2 weekends in a row we'll be scooping that. And a box here again from Champion. We've went for a lower division, and some of the bigger scores have managed to help us here into a box, which is lovely. And we had Celtic in action this weekend, and I thought it might have been a Matt O'Reilly farewell game, and I played both of Matt O'Reillys right at the deadline, and it really did blow up in my face. But we're getting a team promoted, so now finally after the first 2 weekends I'll have 2 teams in Division 1. This will be picking up a card, a tier 2 card as it stands now, and a box. And from the in-season competition, thanks to Marius Broholm, who is part of the rapid card acquisition strategy here at FC Barcelona, he's helped us with a 100 point score to pick up a box as well. And this is a card I won as a tier 4 from the under 23 competition all the way back in game week 472, which was like April or May or something like that, a long time ago. And it's great to see that he, alongside the goalkeeper I won not too long after game week 76 here, Hyun, have became part of the in-season strategy for the Celtic cards already. Outside of Champion Europe, you've got that luxury of there being lots of leagues that cross over within the competition. And, you know, if you win some of these at the right time, you can get a bit of a head start, a bit of a running start on playing the in-season competition. But already, since the thing's been open, we've had 2 weekends. We've had a wee bit of 498 and 500 with the gallery I've got being in Scotland or whatever as well. But we've managed to already win 5 in-season cards from Champion Classic. When we got promoted into Division 1, we won a Silencio Somerville, which was a very huge win. And then from one of the cap mode competitions in game week 500, we got an Ogu's Iodine. That might have been the under 23 win that we had, as well as a Bozic, an Ogawara, and a Duarte. And from the boxes that we've caught already at Rare, and with some of the essence we were getting for those instant buys and those auctions we were doing on some of the squad players at Celtic that we could get quite cheap, we managed to craft 2 cards already. One of them was like a DNP K-League goalkeeper that we gave away to you guys. But we still have Domagoj Bukvic here, who is a 20-year-old defender who plays like left wing. And you can see from his scores, he's kind of half usable, isn't he? If you know it's a good game for him. And he's going to be playing. Now, the Iodine and the Somerville have already been sold. So both of those cards have really played into the winning guys outside of Contender and then sell them and then try and buy guys that will complement the Celtic strategy. And I managed to pick up Alex Valley on instant buy when the news broke he was coming to Celtic. But also with some of the market credits I got from one of those boxes, I've managed to get myself a Welsh, a Mikey Johnson, a Tomoki Iwata, and a Paulo Bernardo off the back of some of the transfer rumours and murmurings that O'Reilly was leaving, maybe Mikey Johnson leaves as well. But we've also got Quan here, who's went to Hibs on loan, and like I mentioned before that, James Forrest. All of these guys are very nominally priced, like Iwata's £13, Quan 15, Valley 35. I know he's a bit more expensive now, and even Forrest at 20. So getting in-season cards that help with collection bonus and are guys that I know when they will play, and I know that I'm not buying this card to play it every game week. We've made a nice little head start. We've also managed to get an in-season Xherdan Shaqiri. Now, he's made his move back to Switzerland with Basel. He made his debut at the weekend off the bench. Nothing to write home about, but he came on for their Arrowhead striker, and I'm really hoping that he can be maybe like a mini Oscar. You know, if he's playing up front in the middle and taking all the set pieces for Basel, they've not got European football this season, so they'll just be playing weekends only. I'm quite excited about how that's kind of started. But as you can see, I've gave away some cards as well. Some of the guys at Duarte, I think I actually managed to trade him away. He went Red X to Hungary. But Bozic we gave away. The other Korean guy that we won, we gave away. Even this Kim Min Duk, Mitsuta, we've sold him as well. Another in-season Asian card that we could have used for what we've got at the moment. That kind of helped fund, maybe not this stuff, but I think when I sold Mitsuta, he definitely helped with a Nicholas Kuhn, maybe even the Ross Laidlaw and Daisen Maeda, who again, as you can see, the cumulative total for these guys isn't very much at all on the old balance sheet. So my in-season actual spend is quite minimal, and I'm really happy now with where we're at. We'll have 2 Division 1 teams coming up, and with the other strategies that I've got, we're seeing those early signs of promise that I will be winning boxes. I can pull essence, and if I, play my cards right in that sense, I'll be able to get more better in-season cards sooner rather than later. That will really help me. And the main reason I'm kind of focusing on this and wanting to evaluate it is because the strength of competition that we've seen in the classic region, or the classic version of all the competitions, is very competitive, and I think this is coming as a surprise to some people, but it's the main reason I've put an extra focus on. Like, I know this team didn't do anything great this week, but game week 1 it got promoted. But looking at Angelino with 13%, Castellanos with 15, Mitoma with 12, having enough guys that you can hopefully try and pick good fixtures with that have that differential locked into my gallery, I was really hopeful would separate me from the power stacks, the big power collections that are focused on a big Bayern Munich win, a big Real Madrid win, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, whatever it might be, and try and make the difference. But when you look at all these divisions, and I think the Contender region is definitely up there with one of the most unforgiving. Now, I do have Celtic, which are one of the power teams in the region, of course, but when you actually look at the headcount and the amount of teams that are entered into these top divisions to win the better cards and the better prizes, factored into how many of them are stacked teams like a Celtic, and there's many others in this region that you don't need me to recite to you. This is what I said at the tip off of the video, is a bloodbath of a division, and to actually keep yourself competitive and be in amongst the cards, you do need players that can hit those big scores. Like Broholm, truth be told, like I was on the fence with playing him, and I was pushed over the fence by you guys in the live chat for the deadline show that we do every Friday. And the live chat and the deadline show, guys, is full of some amazing intel, insight right before the deadline. If you don't catch it every week, you are missing out. It's live here on the channel, same time every week. You can catch it. Just hit subscribe and turn notifications on, and make sure to pay a mindful eye to that on a Friday. And even looking at this champion team here, it was in Division 2. I could have maybe played it in a lower division. We might have done a little bit better. With Quatra off the bench, Oyarzabal with a minging score, but a great captain choice, brilliant goalkeeper, and then Kang In Lee being Kang In has pulled a box. And like this team, like at Rare Classic, which is what this division is, probably isn't really that expensive overall. So like it's one of those ones where the raw score means the most, but you also need to have like that edge. You need to have that little build in where you're making your correct captain choice, of course, but can you get your guys to a high enough XP level, and can you push that collection bonus up? Now, if you're buying in season, you're buying from Sorare, getting those collection bonuses nice and high isn't a problem. As you can see already from my 4th Celtic collection here, the 24-25 season, I'm already cruising past 3%, and with the next couple of acquisitions that will probably come in, getting to 4% sooner rather than later isn't going to be that hard. But I think a lot of the big Celtic collections, everyone's waiting for the 5% on 90 days. So I don't think there'll be much of a difference between me and even some of the bigger stacks, as long as I kind of pick my horses, pick my winners well, with how I'm rounding this squad out with the remaining transfers that Celtic have, for example. But it's a strength and depth, as you can see with the Celtic example, across one team in one region to be super competitive. And then, like, as you can see, I've not really done that great. Arguably done better than champion in the first game week than I have and Contender, depending on how you want to look at it. But with the cards and with the boxes and with the money that we've won so far this year, with us only been 2 weekend game weeks into it, I've definitely got enough proof in the pudding for me on like this kind of eclectic kind of patchwork quilt of a strategy that I've got across like the Leipzig collection, Lyon, Kawasaki, Real Sociedad, all the Celtic guys that make transfers, as well as like the little bits of Atletico Madrid and some of the spot players like Wirtz and Robertson and these other players that are floating around it. I've got that nice blend of, none of these collections, the Sociedad one will get to 4%, but the rest of them are at 2-3% is really what I'm looking at for the majority of them. 4% is absolutely amazing if you can get it in, and 5% is the dream, of course, if you can do it with a team that you're really backing or you really support, like a Celtic or something. I highly recommend it. But for more Sorare players and managers, when you're formulating your team and you're building it, you're looking to build this kind of jigsaw of 2, 3, 4% collections that can weld together in whatever region, in whatever competition you're looking at. Because when it comes to the classic competition, that is, and I know I've bought some cards, I've showed you them on screen, but they've been kind of financed by some of the in-season classic wins that I'd had previously. Now, they were in cap modes, and it was kind of like volume 1 of Sorare, so it's not totally transferable. But as you can see with some of the victories we've had so far, we're not hitting super high. We're managing to craft some cards for Essence as well, and already picking up like a team or half a team's worth at least of in-season cards over the first couple of games, maybe not the first 2, but if I use the Asian overlap and we just think about that into the European season, once we get to game week 4 or 5, the kind of success rate I'm having so far, if we continue that, then building an in-season team over like the first month isn't really out of the question, especially with buying a couple of guys for 15, 20 quid, 40 quid here and there. Maybe you get a star like I did or a goalkeeper for 60 or 80 quid. And that for me is the first step to getting to 3 in-season teams, because whatever team, whatever the part of your gallery and your club that is the rapid card acquisition, where you want to win as many cards as quickly as possible to keep them, well, the agenda there is to get to 3 in-season teams. And that's why when I look at, the kind of lay of the land, the club at the moment, like I don't think about champion. Maybe I'm opening the door for La Liga if I can do well enough in La Liga over this coming midweek, and then maybe the following weekend, maybe I could get an in-season La Liga team together over the next 3 or 4 weeks, and I would definitely be open to that. But for the largest part, for the rest of Champion Europe, if I continue to play a bit of Bundesliga once in a while, I'm not thinking about getting 10 season. I'm just thinking about winning more Silencio Somervilles that I can sell for like 110 quid and then go buy half a Celtic team with, etc. So like that's more of my market play. The champion stuff is all about market activity. The super rare stuff's a bit more of a stretch thing because the money that can be won there. If I can get an in-season super rare contingent, I only need 3 of those cards. It'll be a longer, harder, slower process, of course, as we can see from the first 2 weeks. But yeah, maybe that will flip to an in-season champion element of some description. But yeah, from game week 5 onwards, I'm going to be looking at having 2 D1 teams finally. So the hope is to get that 3rd team into Division 1. And then when it comes to classic contender, I can really just stack the Celtic out and try and, just make sure I'm getting higher quality boxes as a whole out of this region, as well as if I do pick up a card prize, it is going to be a high tier, it is going to be a high caliber, and it will be something that can make a difference, because what it makes a difference to isn't the classic team, it's the in-season team, because this is much more restrictive, only 1 classic player allowed, and we need 4 in-seasons. So there's been a lovely change to the UI here, where I can hit contender, and then I can just unselect like anyone I wouldn't want to look at. This is probably a bit better for me for the actual challenger region, so I can just remove the MLS one, but that's a lovely addition to the UI. I'm a big fan of that. But if we click on contender and then we flip it to in-season, we'll see with the guys I've bought, a few of the transfer guys like Shaqiri and Valley will come into this as well, of course. I've got 2 in-season keepers, 1 non-European, 1 European, and then there's maybe just about, if everyone plays where they're at the moment, like Quan plays every week, Bernardo stays in the team, which I doubt at this point, if Shaqiri becomes him, like there's definitely 1 good team here, and the second team is weak. Now, what I need to happen next is another goalkeeper to come into my ranks, because as you remember from game week 498, I actually still don't have a Kasper Schmeichel, and I only have Ross Laidlaw as my other SPFL keeper. So I definitely need more kind of fixture synergy to come into the squad. And then I'll be up to 5 contender teams. Now, the reason that's important and why I'm kind of trying to highlight this is because if you are going for rapid card acquisition with one of your strategies where you want to win in season cards quickly, to supplement the affordable ones you can get, you need to be able to keep that strength of quality going up. Like if I look at these contender teams I've got for this weekend and populate them really quickly, because the fact that I'll be playing in season doesn't change the fact that I still need to keep competitive with the classic ones. So as I just click these guys out and just play them as full strength as I possibly can, we've got a couple of teams in D2, a couple of teams in D1, and then when we go to that team 5, that next in-season team, like I've already mentioned, we need a goalkeeper to get this properly off the ground, but we still have the ability to play someone of the level of a Carter Vickers in defence, and that's already with playing 4 teams of like D1 level quality. And we can maybe see there's not much defender options in and behind him. We've lost Matt O'Reilly, which is a huge level of card to take out the equation here. And otherwise, across in-season for this team too, we could use somebody like Broholm, we've got Paulo Bernardo, we've got Quan, Forrest, but we don't have a striker. Because when you see the level that this team will be at when it first gets off the ground, if I had to take someone of the level of like the classic card in this case, which would be the Vickers, out of one of those other teams, and I didn't have like another one to replace him with, it would greatly diminish how strong that would be. And that D1 team or that D2 team wouldn't be able to go and get the box or go and pull the cash or go and get promoted, hit a card, whatever it might be in one of those other divisions. And that's something that, again, the overall collection strategy should help me paint in with having these multiples. But to this point, this hasn't overly played in for me yet, because I've not been playing 5 teams. I've been playing 3 or 4 for the first 2 game weeks, but the objective is to get up to eventually 6. And I think we've made good progress. You know, this was always the objective coming into the beginning of this season, is starting with 3 contender classic teams, and how quickly, with, you know, a little bit of trading in the market like we've done, as well as winning cards, boxes, essence, and all the rest of it, how quickly can we get into having 3 in-season teams that all kind of replicate each other? We will need some goalkeepers from some different teams, and then maybe the likes of, you know, like the Shaqiri, the Teixeira, the Rakitic, some of these guys from other leagues that fit into the region and help complement the team to help kind of kick it up and push it, because you're not always going to have the budget to go out and get best in class, best in caliber. Matt O'Reilly stayed, or if someone else comes into Celtic and is Matt O'Reilly level, those guys are never ever cheap. But sometimes there's a guy in China or in Switzerland or something that can score kind of similar and is a fraction of the price, and I'm definitely always up for you know, using those types of strategies to dovetail with what's going on here. So I think we've had some good signs of success already, and I think this is like quite well on track to, you know, maybe by the time we get to like game week, you know, maybe 10 or something like that, it'll be an odd number, so like game week 9 or 11, you know, there should be 2 teams here for in-season up and running. And if we are absolutely smashing it, we get some big results come our way a little bit ahead of schedule, maybe we could get up to 3 sooner rather than later. But that's not going to change for Champion, for La Liga, for Bundesliga. It will be very much a set and forget, a rinse and repeat kind of exercise until we start winning some super rare cards, because I'm not planning on moving into in-season with these cards. And again, just to reiterate, these are the cards that you want to sell in the market, where you can sell at a Somerville and then go and buy a few of the Celtic cards like I've already referenced. And it feels like that strategy is working. I've not got that lofty expectations when I expected to smash every single week just with the quality of guys I've got, but with the little bits of success we've had already, I think there's enough proof in the pudding that I can be quite excited. And yeah, I still need to round out some edges, maybe add in like Soboslai and maybe 1 or 2 other guys that are in existing collections that I've got, that by bringing them in as a classic card, I would have like a distinct edge on that individual player if and when I decide to call upon them. So I think we've had a lot of good progress, a lot of good kind of signs of early success. That this rapid card acquisition is going to pay off for us. We've got 10 super rare essence in already, and I'm really not cashing this in until I get it to 500. Like, if it takes me all season, it takes me all season. But my super rares have been refined into only being La Liga and Champion, so I really know what I'm going to get when this gets spat out. But when it comes to rare essence, I'm playing in Champion and Contender primarily, and there is some Challenger stuff floating around, so this is going to be a bit of a mongrel. You know, there's going to be absolutely anything that comes out of this. And again, really, like, I'm only tempted to really go for it at the 500 mark now that I've had a few turn and burns, but maybe depending on how long it takes, maybe I'll do it around the 250 mark. But I think for rare and for super rare, I'm looking to kind of get marquee cards out of my factory rather than just playing the numbers and turning and burning every game week or every second game week and all the rest of it. And like you guys will know, with the limited essence that we collect, that's going to kind of fuel a lot of the giveaways that we do on like the rival stuff or the Zero to Heroes. A few different playlists open up on the channel, so we've got a lot going on at the moment. Because the next kind of little wave, this next little kind of thread of a dimension of a strategy that I need to make sure I get kind of in a row now, and this kind of contradicts a little bit of what I've said maybe with some of the rares, but it's just kind of came to me as my bullet point when I'm talking about this in the video. But with the Champions League draw happening Thursday at point of recording, so maybe by the time you're watching this, it's been out. The Champions League in-season competition is one that I'm quite excited about, because Celtic will be in the Champions League, and if I can win 1 or 2 good Champions League in-season cards from the Champion or La Liga competition, then maybe I'll hang on to that to help me with my Celtic players as we go into Champions League action, because we'll play 2 pot 4 teams and 2 pot 3 teams. So that's 4 games, 2 at home, 2 away. I think, yeah, maybe my guys could get in amongst it. The problem is, of course, PSG will be playing Barca, will be playing Bayern, will be playing Real, will be playing in the same competition. So trying to outscore them, it's definitely something that I'm not expecting or saying is definitely on the cards. But I am open to the fact that, hey, I will have in-season Champions League cards from the Celtic collection I've got here. And if I did get like I've got a classic goalkeeper, which I could use, I suppose, in Oblak. So if I could get like a star outfielder from one of these Champion La Liga, Bundesliga pools over the next week or two before Champions League starts, then I might hang on to that for the Champions League campaign and try and get some more in-season special weekly action from the cards I've got in the midweek. But besides that, I think, but again, I quite like the fact that I've kept all these kind of avenues open, and then when that Champions League special weekly comes up, like, it's actually something I can make. I can turn those lemons into lemonade, you know, in a roundabout way. So quite excited about that, and let's see if we get any kind of reward luck and we get like a Champions League level guy that would dovetail well, could be a captain choice hopefully, and make the Celtic guys a bit more competitive with the Champions League special weeklies that will be opening. But what I'm waiting for now is to have like a smasher week or two where Celtic really do rinse in for that contender strategy. They beat a team 3-4-0. I don't have any DNPs, and I've got all the right combos of players across 4, maybe 5 teams by that stage, as well as a lot of the guys across European football. Kind of continue in a lot of the form that I've had with some of my cards, but maybe I just get a little bit better, a little bit luckier, depending on how you want to look at it, of just lining up all the best scores together, and then we're finishing first. We're pulling some good cards. We're getting some high value boxes, that kind of thing. But yeah, feels like FC Barcelona just started off, you know, Sorare Volume 2, game week 1 and 3, however you want to think of it as, with maybe not quite a bang, but with a strong kind of first footing, and I'm definitely optimistic for the rest of the season going forward. I've not even really factored into this any sort of under 23 play, because I've not really got one at the moment, but I do have some kind of crossover cards. We'll maybe see how it goes with Van de Voort maybe later on coming into Leipzig, or we'll see how that kind of shakes out. But under 23 hasn't really come into the picture for me yet, because it's been all about those home divisions, those native strategies that I've got good cards in. Can I get them well-rounded enough? Can I get their XP up? Can I complement some other cards in a collection with them that are guys that would enhance the roster anyway, as well as boost a primary card, boost an important card already in the club? And yeah, like I say, I think all around for the first couple of game weeks, there's plenty of proof in the pudding, lots of signs of that being a winning strategy, a winning formula. And yeah, I'm pretty happy. I'll be looking forward to catching the comments on this one, guys, to see what your thoughts and feelings are on how we've started the season, how the rapid card acquisition strategy has went for us, as well as the kind of market strategy of playing Champion Euro, trying to get some in-season stuff with Super Rare and seeing how that's going, and everything else in between. On screen and now some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this one. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one.